Welcome to California in Focus. I'm Eliana Kernodle. Border Czar Tom Homan says information indicates the FBI may have leaked details of an immigration enforcement operation to the media, thereby, quote, putting officers at risk, unquote. He says the U.S. Department of Justice has opened a criminal investigation into the matter and may criminally prosecute the responsible individuals. Joining me with more on this story is the Center Square's California reporter, Kenneth Schrupp. Kenneth, tell us about what Tom Homan had to say.
Hey, Eliana. Just to clarify, this is about individuals at the FBI, not the FBI as a whole, but that there are people at the FBI or a single person who may appear to have been leaking information to the press about raids for targeting violent criminals mostly. That is the target of Homan's efforts at this time. He has went on television to say that the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, is conducting an investigation and will criminally prosecute people who are leaking operational information to the media about these raids. He said that this individual or individuals will lose their job, will lose their pension, and will even possibly face time in jail because he says that there's possibility of ambush, that lives are being put at risk, but also that they're just not going to be able to get the people who they are targeting.
What details did the Los Angeles Times publish in their report that sort of brought about this allegation of a leak in the FBI?
Well, they did report when a large operation was planned for, which does allow people to know when it's time to stay low. And at this stage, I do believe that the administration has shared that it is only targeting certain violent individuals who have committed felonies and serious crimes. So this does allow people who are criminals to avoid being caught. There are other instances where this has happened, though.
Yeah, this isn't the first time questions have been raised about a leak. What other examples have we seen?
Yeah, there was a operation in Aurora, Colorado. That's where during the campaign season, we saw that there were gangs who had taken over apartment buildings. These were people in the country illegally who were extorting people and committing acts of violence. And there was a leak about the operation in this area before it happened. And as a result, they were not able to apprehend many of these criminals.
Notably, any of these efforts, any of these enforcement operations will take place without cooperation from Los Angeles and other local law enforcement because of sanctuary laws in the state. Can you get into that conversation?
Yeah, so California broadly has a sanctuary state law that prevents enforcement or in cooperation with federal immigration enforcement authorities. They are able to relay information for people who are convicted of serious or violent felonies. That is a very short list of crimes that excludes a lot of violent and or serious felonies, such as a felony conviction of domestic violence. So there is a little controversy over whether or not that's an inclusive enough list. The city of Los Angeles itself also has its own sanctuary policies. But by not cooperating or sharing information with federal officials, they are pretty much saying that this is a population that they're going to take care of. It has been admitted by LA city council members that maybe 1 in 10 city residents is undocumented. So this would have a major impact on the local economy and even statewide economy if there were to be large-scale raids.
Well, and there is some interesting analysis of how much illegal immigrants cost the city. Can you get into that?
Yeah, it does seem that there are significant costs associated with spending on undocumented immigrants by the city of Los Angeles and the state of California. based on the average undocumented worker wage in California of $13 an hour or $27,000 a year. That's assuming their full tax is being paid. This is often cash. That's $464 in state income taxes. Assuming 30% of that income goes towards rent and the rest goes towards stuff where sales tax is paid, that's another $1,400 in state sales taxes and another $426 in city sales taxes. If we're looking at Medi-Cal spending per individual, that is probably about $4,000 to $6,000. The state just said it's spending about $9.5 billion this year on healthcare for undocumented individuals, and is a small fraction of the $3,100 spent by the city of LA per resident. So there are significant costs involved for both the city and state.
What new legislation is being considered around this conversation?
Well, we have in California, there was a bill that was passed by the legislature and is on its way to the governor's desk that would prohibit state prisons from working with ICE. As I said earlier, serious and violent convicted felons, they can be deported with cooperation with ICE under the current sanctuary laws, because people generally agree that those are very serious or violent crimes that someone should get deported for. This bill would have stopped cooperation with the state prisons with ICE and significantly reduced deportations of those individuals. This is somewhat in line with what you see in other states, though, across the country. Let's look at New York, for example. New York's governor has said that she embraces ICE's help deporting people who are convicted of serious crimes. That seems to be fairly common among blue state governors. That is something that even progressive voters can often seem to support. However, the Trump administration just announced a lawsuit against the state of New York for its sanctuary city policies. Thus far, we haven't seen further escalation with that, but that could become an issue for sanctuary states across the nation.
Well, Kenneth, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.